Today we're taking the old line off of this Spincast reel and replacing that with fresh line. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the back side of the reel here. We can see that it's rated for 10-pound line at 160 yards. So that means we can put a maximum weight of 10-pound line on here and get 160 yards of line on. This is based on monofilament line, which is the best kind of line to use with a spin caster, so make sure that you're putting monofilament line on, and I would not go higher than that recommended weight. So to get this line off, we're going to push the reel button on the back side, and now it disengages the spool inside of here and allows us to pull this line out. You can just pull all this out by hand, or the way that I like to do it, since I do this fairly often with all my reels, is to tie this line to a block of wood on my cordless drill, and I just turn the drill on and it spins that block of wood and pulls all this line out for me really fast. Alright, I have all that old line taken off, and I cut it about 8 inches up from the reel here. So now what we need to do is get that last bit of line off that is tied to the reel. So we need to take the front cover off. Most Spincast reels nowadays have a screw-on cover. If you have a really old one that you maybe inherited from somebody, it could have a slip-on cover like this one. You actually just pull it off. And these old ones even have a little locking screw here, so you have to loosen that first in order to get the cover off. So once you have the cover off, you can see that that line is tied on inside the spool. So we need to take that off by just taking a little knife and cutting the loop there that's around the spool. Now we're ready to put our new line on. So the first step is actually to run it down through the first guide on your rod. Run it down from the top to the bottom. Now we're going to run it through the spool cover. And we're ready to tie a knot to put it on the reel itself. Now I'm going to show you how to tie that knot with yellow string instead of fishing line so it's easier to see. The knot that I like to use to tie a new line to a fishing reel is called a uni knot. It's a very easy knot to tie. You just start off by bringing your tag end of your line back along the main line like this, and then turning it back one more time. So it's going to end up looking like this. Now you take this tag end, and pinch these two lines together, so you end up with this loop over here. That's what we're going to use later. And this tag end just goes back behind the other two lines. So you've got this loop you just made up on top, and the line's going to wrap around those two lines through the loop, back down, up and through the loop, back down, and up and through the loop one more time. Then we grab this tag end and we just pull it tight, and now we have this loop over here that we can wrap around the spool of the reel, and as we pull on our main line, that knot slides down to tighten up around our spool. So now that we have our loop knot tied, this will slide down onto the spool as we pull on the main line. So we need to take this tag end off. We're going to cut it about 1/8 of an inch above the knot. And now we can slip this around the spool. As we pull on the main line, that knot is going to go down to the reel and tighten up against the spool. Now the last thing we need to do before we put the cover back on the front of the reel is to check which way this reel spool turns as we crank it. So we face the reel away from us and turn the handle, and you can see that this spool is turning clockwise. And that means that we want the line to be coming off the new spool in a clockwise pattern also, so it comes off the new spool in the same direction that it is going on to the reel spool. Now we can put the front cover back on the reel. So I'm going to hold a little bit of tension on the line about 8 inches up from the reel, and then I'm going to start cranking. And I'm going to do it slow at first. Everything seems to be going fine. The line is going in, and so now I'm going to go a little faster. And I'm going to go about 60 cranks here, and then I'll check to see how much more line capacity we have left. Okay, I cranked it about 60 times, so now I'm going to take the front cover off to see how much capacity I have left. Now I can see that there's a lot of room on the spool still. We want it to be about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the spool, and if it's hard to see the edge, you can push the button on the back and you can lift that bell up on the top so you can actually see the spool better. And here I can see there's probably a good 1/2 inch of space between the outside of the spool and the line. So I got lots of room to keep going. Now I can put the reel cover back on and I can keep cranking more line in. I'm going to take this off again to check how much room I have left. Looks like I am about 1/8 of an inch from the edge now. So I'm going to put this back on and I will just cut off the line about a couple feet above the reel. The last thing I need to do is just to run that up through all the guides on my rod. I can tie on a hook or a lure and I'm all set. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll catch you next time.